language. He averts his gaze and he stares down, seeming to ask the desk his remaining questions. Their rapport has disappeared. Both parties have stopped looking at each other. While Letterman and Zellweger both continue to speak to each other verbally and show outward social signs of making nice, their bodies relate an entirely different conversation. Her body language is saying, "I'm so angry and frustrated that you brought this up." His body is saying, "I'm sorry that I had to do this. Let's just get through it." Zellweger begins to rock her body back and forth in increasingly larger movements and responds to his comments with big, forced, barking laughs. Her fingers twist in her lap, yet all the while she has a big smile on her face. As Letterman makes a joke about having been disappointed when she got married because he had wanted to marry her, she turns completely away from him and drops her head down, still smiling. Then, the most telling moment. For just the briefest instant, a flash of true anger covers her face. She scowls, narrows her eyes, purses her lips, and all traces of even fake smiling leave her face. There is no doubt. It might seem like she's joking, but she is just plain livid. As quickly as her anger appears, it disappears. That micro-expression lasts only a fraction of a second. Not nearly long enough for the untrained eye to catch it. In fact, I had to slow down the clip for Bill O'Reilly during my analysis on the show. But once you've seen this signal, you know what to look for. You can't miss it. Zellweger's flash of anger evaporates and she smiles brightly again, swings her head around and looks directly at Letterman. For the first time in the 20 seconds since he asked the initial question, she looks him in the eye and a bit forcefully. She even subtly moves her head around to draw him back into direct eye contact. Perhaps not coincidentally, soon thereafter he straightens his tie in his trademark gesture of discomfort and says, "Probably none of my business, is it?" And she says, "Well, now that you mention it, no," with a big barking laugh. We all have aspects of our private lives that we like to keep private. When we need to interact with the world, we put on our public face and try to conduct our business without letting anyone see behind the veil. While we intend to maintain our privacy, very few of us are successful at completely obscuring our true feelings. Even the most accomplished actors can unintentionally betray their genuine emotions with body language signals. Once you have studied and mastered body language, you will be astounded to discover how much a person can unwittingly reveal about himself without saying a word. While most people never pick up on these signals, once you learn to recognize them, you will detect them everywhere, and even be able to control them more easily in yourself. I'll never forget the first time I learned the power of body language. I was in a psychology class at Pace University, an eager to impress student. I sat in the front row of the class taking copious notes as I listened to Professor Mitchell deliver his lecture to a packed auditorium. This particular day, Professor Mitchell was talking about proxemics, the study of how humans interact with each other within physical space. He described the zones of personal space, telling us one of his trademark great stories, walking back and forth in front of the classroom. Gradually, as he spoke, he moved closer and closer to me. Naive little me continued to take notes, somewhat oblivious to what Professor Mitchell was doing, but subconsciously starting to feel increasingly uneasy. In the middle of a sentence, he abruptly stopped talking. His tone changed, and he said loudly, "Okay, I want everyone to look at this young lady." Every head in the classroom turned in my direction, and the class drew an audible gasp. Professor Mitchell was leaning over my desk, nearly nose to nose with me. Although my hands were still on my desk, the rest of my body was stretched as far back as it could go. My professor had moved in so subtly, I had no idea what was happening, until he had concluded this little experiment and called attention to my posture. I hadn't even realized I had contorted my body to try to get away from him. My body had automatically responded to his sly, but very aggressive, takeover of my personal space. He had used his body to communicate messages of power, dominance, and total control. And his skilled use of body language, coupled with my total lack of awareness, gave this man the complete upper hand.